And Mr. Youngkin, just to be clear, you do understand that you are under oath. You were sworn in yesterday, and you remain under oath at this time for cross-examination.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hilliard.
Since yesterday, have you spoken with anyone about the case or your testimony?
No.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to approach, if I could, the witness of State Exhibit 9 and have you look at it real quick. You could just briefly state what that is.
The layout of the house
Okay.
on Buckhalter Road.
And if you would, just explain to the jury where the front door is that the room that y'all lived in and slept in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you would, how to explain where the front door is. We've seen pictures. Give me 1 second. I might can give you a better picture. I'm going to show you what's already been 10 minutes admitted of State's Exhibit number 10 and picture 26 of State's Exhibit number 10. Is that the front door of 535 Buckhalter?
Yes, sir.
And is this, as you enter the doorway, a picture of the sofa to the left?
Yes, sir.
And the picture to the right is kind of over in the corner. It's the race car. That's where Zane slept.
Yes, sir.
And this is the TV.
Yes, sir.
And I assume there's a little chair in front of it, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's the crib that Quinton slept in, correct?
Yes, sir. The playpen.
And that's the pictures of inside the crib, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm going to go all the way back here. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm trying to understand the back part of the room. If I can get to it. The back part of the room, as you walk in the door and look all the way to the back, is where the bed was, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you have to walk past the bed in order to walk in and out the back door, the dining room. Let me rephrase that. Is this about where the bed's at in the back part of the house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is where you have to walk through to get out through the dining room and living room, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, on the night of October 5th, were you sleeping in that bed?
Yes, sir.
And was Miss Simon sleeping in that bed with you?
At some point.
At some point, okay. So, and again, not trying to put words in your mouth. The bed, in order to walk in and out the back dining room or living room door, you have to walk right by that bed, correct?
Yes, sir. You have to walk by it.
And it's in the back part of the room away from the children, correct?
Yes, sir. Towards the window in the corner.
Okay. And you say that's where you were sleeping, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So it wasn't upstairs, it wasn't a different bedroom, it wasn't anything like that.
No, sir.
So, what time did you wake up on the morning of October 5th?
I would believe around right before I sent the text message to Miss Michelle.
And that was, and I'm not trying to put
5:18.
So 5:15, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then you texted Miss Michelle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you woke up and texted Miss Michelle, I assume you then left to go to work, correct?
I got ready and left. Yes, sir.
All right. And what did you drive on the way to work?
The Dodge Journey.
And I'm going to show you some pictures. Mark the State's Exhibit 11. If you would look through State's Exhibit 11. Is that the Dodge Journey that you drove?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you left and you went to work, clocked in around 6:10, 6:15, correct?
Yes, sir. Whatever time the clock kind has me at. Yes, sir.
All right. Did you make any stops along the way?
No, sir.
All right. You see in there a curveball, a fireball, and a natural light container, correct? As well as an orange vest or some sort of curveball.
Fireball, Sprite, another shot, orange vest, natural light. Yep.
And were those yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when did you deposit them there?
To be honest, I don't know.
But they're yours.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to assume on October 5th, the police seized the van, correct?
Yeah, it was in the parking, in the driveway.
Just trying to set up. Okay. But were those fair and accurate pictures of the van that morning?
Yes, sir.
All right. So do you know what time you left the house?
Not precisely.
Okay. And where exactly is the warehouse you work at?
Port Wentworth.
Okay. So that time of morning, what's the drive like?
Pretty heavy traffic for the most part.
How long does it normally take you to get there?
20, 25
20,
minutes.
25 minutes? Okay. And I was curious. Mr. Dean played the video of you running in and then running out a short time later. What were you running in for?
I was probably a few minutes late.
You were already 10 or 15 minutes late, though, weren't you?
I don't know to be precise. Whatever time this clock in was.
Whatever the clock says is what it was, but you were already late, right?
Sure.
Now, you said that you and Miss Simon met in 2020, correct?
Somewhere along those lines.
Okay. And that was in Dunn, North Carolina?
In person, yeah.
Right. And that was where you were at, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And she traveled up there. Y'all lived together for a minute, correct?
Absolutely.
How old are you, Mr. Youngkin? And today?
Today, I'm 30.
How old would you have been back then? 28, 27?
27, 26.
In 2020, you would have been 26, correct?
Yeah.
In October of 2022, probably 28, 27, something like that?
Yeah.
All right. So, when did you move back to Savannah?
I moved to Savannah. I didn't move back to Savannah.
Or when did you move to Savannah then?
4 or 5 months into her pregnancy.
All right. So when was Sky born? In what year? What month?
June 5th.
2022? Am I correct? All right. So it would have
Yes,
been,
sir.
again, February, March of 2022 you moved down here maybe?
Sounds about right.
Okay. And you lived at 535 Buckhalter, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was Billy and Thomas's house, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you pay any rent while you lived there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you paid it to Billy and Thomas?
Cash app it to Billy.
Okay. And you lived there, and again, I'm just trying to recount it. When you first moved in, it was Joe that lived there, right?
Yes, sir. We lived upstairs.
All right. And it was you and Zane and Quinton and Leilani and Billy and Thomas and Joe, right?
Before Sky was born, yeah.
Right. And then Sky was born. And then if I just remember correctly, then Joe moved out and Paul moved in, correct?
Somewhere along those lines, yeah.
So around the summer of 2022, that's an accurate picture of who was residing in the house, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, is it safe to say that y'all both took care of these kids and took the kids back and forth to the babysitter?
For the most part, it was me.
So the most part it was you?
Yeah.
Okay. So on a daily basis, who was the one that would normally take them over to the babysitter?
Me.
All right. And how often would Leilani do it?
Rarely.
All right. So, and who would pick them up in the afternoon?
Me.
All right.
If she worked, then both of us. If she worked.
If she worked? Okay. And so it was not unusual that you were the one who took care of these children, correct?
Correct.
All right. And it's not uncommon that you were the one that interacted with the babysitter, correct?
Correct.
And now let's talk about how often would you drink?
Daily.
How often daily?
As I stated yesterday, about 5 shots of Fireball and 3 to 4 25-ounce beers.
Okay. And when did you normally drink? What was your routine?
Well, I couldn't leave work, so I'd go to work and I'd get off work and I'd stop by the liquor store in Port Wentworth on the way back to the house.
Okay. Did you ever stop by on the way to work?
No, they weren't open.
Did you ever drink before work?
They weren't open.
That's not the same question.
No,
Mr.
sir.
Lincoln. Okay. You can buy it ahead of time.
No, I drank to where there was nothing left.
So it's safe to say that your drinking habits were mostly after work and in the evenings.
Yeah.
And you, by your own admission, drank 4 or 5 Fireballs and, at least in this case, we knew a curveball and Natural Light. And then you said the 25 ounce, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so now let's talk about the week leading up to October 5th. Were you and Leilani bickering or fighting that week?
Probably.
Okay. Let me ask a more refined question then. You said it was not unusual for her to go to Arkwright Road. Why is that?
For her to what?
Not unusual for. You said it was not unusual for her to go to Arkwright Road. Why was that?
To where?
Arkwright Road. 204.
No, not unusual.
Well, let me ask you this. After she had her wisdom teeth out on October 4th, did y'all go by 204 on the way home?
Possibly.
Possibly? Or
I
not?
don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
All right. Well, do you recall saying that you did?
I said it was a possibility, or probably is. I mean, I know I told you I went by the liquor store while she was at the dentist's office, so I had already drank at that point.
Well, what kind of drinker are you? Are you a blackout drinker or a pass-out drinker?
Neither.
Okay. So you just said you didn't remember. You'd already been by the liquor store. I was wondering what going by the liquor store would have to do with affecting your memory.
I just don't have great memory. I used to do a lot of drugs,
All right. What kind of drugs did you used to do, Mr. Youngkin?
cocaine and marijuana.
And let me ask this. In the weeks, days, and hours leading up to October 5th, were you doing cocaine, marijuana, and alcohol?
Not marijuana, but cocaine and alcohol, yes sir.
And when were you doing cocaine and alcohol?
After work,
On a daily basis?
yeah,
So, matter of fact, if you didn't drink and drug, it would have been unusual. Correct?
yeah.
All right. Now, when you did drink and drug, where did you normally do it at?
In the house,
Where at in the house?
on a dresser that was next to the bed.
All right. So you would do it in the room where the kids were.
Unfortunately,
Okay. And not trying to pry or anything, just asking. So whenever you, and there's different ways to do it. You can smoke cocaine,
No.
sniff cocaine, or you
Yes.
can shoot cocaine.
No.
How did you do cocaine?
sniff.
Okay. So when you're doing that, wouldn't you have to explain how you would normally do that? How would you sniff the cocaine? What was your routine?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, well, would you buy it?
Yeah,
Or would you send Leilani to buy it?
I would buy it, or she would go buy it. I don't get
Okay.
it.
And did you have a dresser? You said the dresser that you put it on was in the bedroom.
Yeah,
Okay. Would you leave it on the dresser? Would you put it on a plate? What would you do with it?
on the dresser, it would be in a bag, or sniff it out of the bag, or put a line on the dresser and sniff it off the dresser.
All right. So and that's kind of the point I'm getting to. It's either in the bag on the dresser and you sniff it from the bag.
The dresser's like this tall.
You know, that's fine. I'm just asking. The point is it was out on the dresser in the bedroom where the children were. That's my point.
Sure.
Okay. Now, is cocaine more of a stimulant or more of a depressant?
I-
Does cocaine give you energy or does cocaine make you sleepy?
For me,
Yes.
sleepy, honestly.
And that's a fair assessment. So cocaine makes you sleepy. Does alcohol make you sleepy or energize you?
I kind of just evened out.
So in your case, cocaine made you sleepy and alcohol would give you a little bit of energy and it kind of evened you out.
Sure.
Now, when you did cocaine, would you also drink?
Yes.
Okay. And how much would you drink at that point in time?
I don't have an exact measurement.
Okay. Did you smoke at the same time?
No, I didn't smoke. I didn't smoke marijuana. I was not.
Cigarettes?
Cigarettes?
Yes.
Not often.
But when you did cocaine and drank, would you smoke cigarettes?
Sure.
Okay. And when you smoke cigarettes, would you smoke the cigarettes in the house or outside the house?
Outside.
Okay. And why was that?
So the house didn't smell like cigarettes?
And it wasn't your house, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. And I'm going to assume, and again, I don't think you had permission to smoke in the house, did you?
No, sir.
And I'm fairly certain you didn't have permission to do cocaine in the house either, did you?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, so you're not sure if you went to 204 after she had her wisdom teeth out. Y'all came home. You stopped by Cheddar's on the way home, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Got something to eat, came home, and she took her medicine and knocked herself out, right?
Sure. I'm not 100% sure. I honestly can't say for certain. But I mean, yeah, that's my recollection of it.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Y'all lived in this room, right?
For the most part.
Okay. It's an open room, correct?
Yeah.
The bed's in that room, correct?
Yes, sir.
The entertainment for the children is in that room, correct?
Yes, sir.
The place the children sleep is in that room, correct?
Yes, sir.
If you were interacting with the children, laying down, watching TV, or doing any of these things in your room, and she was sleeping, you would notice it, correct?
More than likely, yeah. I mean, as I said yesterday, we were at a point to where I didn't really pay much attention to what she was doing.
Okay. Well, do you recall telling the police that she went to sleep that afternoon?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Any reason why you make that up?
no.
Okay. So, what time did she wake up that afternoon?
I don't remember.
All right. How did the kids get back from Michelle's that afternoon?
I believe we both went and picked them up.
So, and what time was that?
Around 4:30 or 5,
All right. Which is a normal time, right?
I guess. I mean, it's a couple hours later because we normally get off at like 2 or 3.
All right. So 5 o'clock, Quinton's fine, Zane's fine, and Sky's fine, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. At 6 o'clock on the evening of October 4th, Quinton's fine, Zane's fine, and Sky's fine, correct?
Yes, sir.
What are you and Leilani doing at that point in time?
I don't remember.
Okay. 7 o'clock, are the children fine?
Yes, to my
What,
knowledge.
what are you and Leilani doing at 7 o'clock?
I can't say for certain.
8 o'clock, are the children fine?
Yeah, to my knowledge. Absolutely.
What are you and Leilani doing at 8 o'clock?
I can't be 100% certain. I was probably making dinner.
Okay. And 10 o'clock, the kids are laying down for bed, going to sleep at this point in time, correct?
Yeah. As
Zane's,
was I.
Zane's in his bed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you actually lay eyes on him?
I mean, he's visible.
Okay. Quentin's in his bed. Did you actually lay eyes on him?
He's not as visible, but yes.
Okay. And Sky's in her, I guess it's like crib or whatever it is, next to the couch, right? And you actually laid eyes on her as well, correct?
Yeah, she was at the end of the bed.
All right. So at 10 o'clock, kids are fine. You're there. Are you drinking or drugging at this point in time?
10 o'clock?
Yes.
No.
All right. And so at 10 o'clock, was there any conversation about going to 204 that night between you and Leilani?
Yeah, there's text messages.
And what was the nature of that conversation?
She said she was going to go to 204 and come back. I said, okay, can you make it quick? I'd like to watch a movie and go to sleep so we can go to work.
All right. And that's basically what your text message said.
Yeah.
Come on back. See you soon.
Please,
Let's watch a movie, right?
please,
So
yes.
there was no, at least I'm not putting your words in my mouth. From the text messages, there didn't seem to be any animosity between y'all at that point in time, correct?
For the most part,
Yeah. You're just looking forward to laying down, watching a movie together, right?
for the most part.
And again, were you drinking or doing any drugs that night?
That night?
Yes.
You said 10 o'clock.
And that night, after this, anytime that night.
Prior to 10 o'clock, yeah, prior to when I laid down, yes.
Okay, what were you doing prior to 10 o'clock?
Drinking and the rest of the little bit of cocaine I had.
So you were drinking and doing cocaine up to 10 o'clock. And is that why you sent her to 204 to get some more?
I didn't send her to 10 to 204. She was the one who said she wanted to go to 204. That's in the text messages.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Who would normally get the drugs, you or her?
That were her people.
All right. And would y'all share drugs or
Yes.
would you keep it separate?
Share it for the most part.
All right. So if you got some cocaine or some weed or some
I didn't get weed.
Percocets,
I didn't get Percocet.
all right. But if you got cocaine, you'd share.
Yeah?
And if she got it, she'd share.
No.
No.
No. She was selfish.
Okay. So you would share drugs, but she wouldn't.
Yeah.
Did that cause any anger or animosity between you?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not for me.
Really? Okay. So whenever you, do you remember speaking with the police on October 5th? I believe it was an FBI agent and a detective from Chatham County Police Department.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember when they took you down to the station and interviewed you?
For a very long period of time.
Right. And do you remember that conversation with him?
There were quite a few.
Let's just start at the beginning then. Do you remember telling them there's nothing weird about her going to Arkwright Drive?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's not anything weird about it.
And when Leilani got back from 204, were you awake or asleep?
I was asleep.
You remember telling them that you were awake when she got back?
No. I don't remember it to be 100% honest. I really don't.
All right. And do you remember telling them you got up at 3 to take care of Sky?
It's possible that I did.
Okay. And do you remember saying that everything was fine at that point in time?
Possibly.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Whenever you would come and go from the house, did you come through the front door or did you always drive around back and come in through the dining room or living room doors?
Never through the front door.
And that's because the parking's in the back, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it would not be unusual or uncommon that those doors are the ones that get all the movement, are they?
No, not uncommon.
Okay. And whose responsibility was it to lock those doors or secure those doors at night?
Everybody's? Whoever came in last.
Okay. But would it surprise you if those doors opened and closed a lot and weren't locked and stayed open?
Yes.
Okay. Would that be unusual?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember going out, and again, you said you didn't smoke often, but would you go out on the patio to smoke when you did smoke?
The front or the back? It would depend.
Okay. But you would?
Sure.
Okay. Now, do you remember just a few minutes into the interview with the FBI agent and Chatham County Police officer, you got a little angry?
Possibly.
Remember saying it feels weird, I'm having a bad day, and
No.
okay. Well, it's been a long day, so. Do you remember telling them that you were a little antsy and you need a drink?
Probably.
Okay. Now, do you remember telling them that when you woke up at 3 a.m. that Leilani was asleep?
No. Well, if I did, then that's probably something she told me to say.
Okay. And you remember telling them Quinton was okay at 3 o'clock?
Probably based on what she told me to say.
Mr. Youngkin, are you sitting here saying what you've been told to say?
Right now, no.
Okay. So you have free will, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, let's talk about that first day as well. Was that the day that you authorized the FBI to tap your phone for 90 days? 30 days at a time, I guess I should say.
What day? The date started on, I think it was the 8th. I think it was 10/8/2022.
October 8th. All right, well, I'll ask that question. Let's just go back. That day, October 5th, did y'all go back to Buckhalter Road that day?
I believe it was it was like 2 or 3 a.m.
Okay, so it was October 6th.
Yeah.
Okay. And when was it y'all went to the hotel?
The 7th, maybe? I don't know 100%.
But you had agreed to
Absolutely.
have the video done, the audio done, and then give them your phone done, correct?
The phone happened later, but yes, I did.
Okay. And you say the phone happened later. They didn't dump it that day, October 5th?
What do you mean? Oh, permission?
Distracted.
I thought you were talking about the 30 days at a time.
No. I'm talking about just actually giving them your phone.
Yeah,
back.
on the 5th, absolutely.
Right, because I remember you asked on the 5th to get your phone back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I did.
Right. So,
And I got it back.
all right. So, now, did you notice anything about Quinton's crib the evening of October 4th?
No.
Early morning hours of October 5th?
No.
Anything unusual about it?
No. I wasn't really looking at that point, but no.
Okay. And I wonder if I could approach the witness for 1 second. If you would look through that real quick. Don't say what it is, just look through it. It depends.
Okay. Okay.
Do you recognize any of these messages?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are these messages?
Text messages between me and Leilani.
Okay. And if you would turn to, I guess, the very back one. Let's start in the back and kind of work forward. You see the one from September 30th at 8:04?
Yes.
Okay. This is about 5 days prior to Quinton's disappearance, is it not?
Yeah.
And it's from who to who?
From me to her.
All right. And if you would, what did you say to her that particular day?
Like, I'm always supposed to deal with your asshole moves and the mean ass kids when you get mad and dip and take shit from me.
What particular shit are you talking about here, Mr. Youngkin?
Money, drugs.
And which mean-ass kids are you referring to here, Mr. Youngkin?
All three.
Well, Sky's an infant, so I'm
Yeah,
fairly
she was being
certain.
mean that day.
How can an infant be mean, Mr. Youngkin?
She wasn't being mean. She was just crying a lot.
Okay. So how would Quinton or Zane be mean? They're children, Mr. Youngkin.
Zane was a handful
How's that?
because he was always high energy and high strung and didn't want to go to sleep when we would say that. And I would be the one that would always deal with him.
Okay. All right, let's look at the next one. Just a few minutes later, September 30th at 8:47.
Yeah, I said, I'm such an idiot. I see it.
You said a little bit more than that,
I am such a ducking idiot. I see it.
and you meant to say something else, but
Yeah, well, autocorrect.
all right, let's go on to the next one on September 30th at 8:46.
Yes.
That's from you to who?
These aren't in order.
No, they're not, admittedly.
I said, still at 2:04, WTF taking so long?
What's that referring to?
Why was she still gone?
Well, what would she go to 204 for?
For herself, probably.
So,
Or us, both.
all right, drugs maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. I would be the only, to my knowledge.
And so you were a little irritated because she wasn't back with the drugs, weren't you, Mr. Youngkin?
I was just, no, it wasn't because she wasn't back with drugs, because she wasn't back.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go on to the next one, if you would. September 30th at 9.
Yeah, and you fucking wonder why I'm just trying to drink, do drugs, and sleep.
And this was September 30th at 9 p.m.
Yes, sir. Sorry. I apologize. Absolutely.
So, did that pretty much sum up what you were looking to do at that point in time in your life?
Yeah, honestly.
I'm going to ask it's not a flippant question, but at this point in time, you're a grown man, 28 years old.
Sure.
Just leave.
Just leave my daughter?
Mm-hmm.
No. No, sir.
All right. So you understand it's an option then?
Not in my eyes.
So, but you would rather stay, drink, do drugs, and sleep.
I'd rather be there for my daughter.
Well, I understand. Let me ask you this. When you're drinking, doing drugs, and sleeping, how are you there for your daughter?
Not as well as I should have been.
Oh, not at all. Really, are you?
That's an opinion.
Is that your opinion?
That I could have done better, yes.
Now, that's all the ones for September 30th. Let's look on October 1st. This is 4 days prior. At 12:26 a.m. From,
Are you asking me to read all these?
well, I'm asking you, who's this from and who's it to?
What time?
The 12:26.
It's from her to me.
And what does it say?
You almost had your whole bag, and some of both of the bags that I had went and bought.
What bags is she referring to?
Cocaine, which was inaccurate.
So you went through both bags as well.
That's inaccurate.
It may be inaccurate, but that's what the text message says, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it says you went through both bags of cocaine.
According to her,
Right. Well, let's go on to the next one that you sent back to her.
no bag, no love, no niceness.
Okay. So basically, your mood was contingent upon the drugs that you had, correct?
That was inclusive with the no love, no niceness.
Let's go to 10/1/2022, 12:27 a.m. That was from who to who?
Her to me.
And what was this referencing?
Then expected, that's not in order. It says, and then expected me to come inside while you talk shit and share when you had a G yesterday.
What's a G?
A gram,
All right. So she's saying that she wasn't going to share because you had an entire gram to yourself.
which is not true.
Okay. Look at the next text message from October 1st, 1:34, from you to Leilani.
Yeah. Can't come in and lay down at 2 a.m. Just go out and fuck around and don't ask me or tell me shit. Me referring to her leaving in the middle of the night and not saying anything.
Okay. You were upset, needless to say.
Well, yeah. At the time. Then I gave up.
So did it upset you whenever you noticed that she wasn't there in the middle of the night?
Occasionally. Most of the time I just accredited it to do her doing whatever she wanted to do.
Let's look at the next one on 10/1 at 1:34. It looks like from Leilani to you.
You can go out and do what you want tomorrow night. And you said you wish you knew. Well, now you know.
And that's basically saying you can go do what you want tomorrow night, right?
From her, yeah.
Right.
Like I would do that.
Well, whether you did it or not,
I guess that's her giving me permission to leave the next night.
did you leave the next night?
Nope.
Right. And what was your reply back?
You know damn well I can't do shit.
And why is that?
Because I'm the one that takes care of the children.
Okay. And look at the next one from October 1st at 1:40.
Like I said, it's not in order, but yeah.
Is that to Leilani from you?
Yep.
And what does it say?
Bet it'll be 3 a.m. before I see you and no beer.
3 a.m. drinking beer?
Yeah.
Was that unusual or uncommon?
Depending on the day. If I didn't have to work the next day, probably not.
And this is later.
You want me to read this one?
October 1st at 2:19. Yes, sir.
But want me to be all over you when you run off at night like this and lie and don't respond.
And that has to do with withholding sexual attention, correct? I assume that's what it means.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, you tell me. I'm assuming that's what you mean. You want me to be all over you when you run off at night like this. What does that mean?
Anything intimate?
Right. So,
Anything intimate, not just sexual, anything.
so that was withholding affection, correct? That's what you're threatening there.
That's what I'm threatening? I
what
wasn't
it sounded
threatening.
Okay.
That was me saying she wants that, but how am I supposed to do that when she does this?
Okay. Let's look at the next one from October 2nd. You may remember this, you may not remember this.
No, I don't know what this is.
All right. And you see the picture there?
Vaguely.
All right. We'll go to the next one then. See if that helps.
I guess it's a haircut.
Were y'all talking about getting Quinton's haircut?
It wasn't my choice. I think,
Well, that's what Leilani was. That's from her to you, correct?
yeah, I guess she was thinking about getting Quinton's haircut.
And that was on October 2nd, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's look at October 2nd that evening at 8:43.
Yes, sir. It's not my fault. I'm so sorry.
October 2nd at 8:43. That was from you to Leilani, correct?
Yep. Should have gotten Zane to chill or left me something before you tell me to fucking chill.
Left you what?
Some drugs.
Okay. And what was Zane doing that night?
Being high energy,
Wouldn't listen? Basically being a kid.
if that's how you want to put it. Yes, sir.
All right. And October 2nd at 8:56, you sent another text message to Leilani?
I want to know why I don't understand the context. I want to know why I wish I did, because I didn't get any when I even begged. I don't know.
Maybe. You don't know what that's about.
No, I don't. Don't know the context.
All right. Let's look at the next one then and see if that helps put it in context.
It doesn't, but I want to tell me why it looks like you touched my bag from her to me.
Okay. And
Also incorrect.
so but put it in context, that may have been about drugs, correct?
Could have been, possibly.
All right. And let's go to October 3rd. This is the evening of October 3rd. I think this is the day before the wisdom tooth, if I'm not mistaken. This is 11:34 p.m. and it's from Leilani to you. And what does she say to you?
This is backwards, so it's kind of hard to get everything in context. And some of it's not even in order.
Well, that's fine. You can put it in order. But what does it say?
I don't have time. It says, so I've kind of been waiting for you at the same time, which is why I asked what you were doing. I do not know what that's referring to.
All right, well, that's fine. Let's go to the next one then. It's just an okay, right?
Yep. Just me saying okay.
And what's the next one?
Her saying, oh, I guess she was outside, sitting on the front porch.
All right.
So I thought you said you was going to hit that line and come smoke a cig.
All right. If I hit that line, what do you mean by that?
What she had left on the dresser for me.
For you to do.
Yep.
And by do, I mean cocaine, correct?
Drugs, absolutely.
And this was about 11:30 at night, give or take.
11:33:47.
And let's look at the next one from her to you.
11:33:32.
Yep.
Just put out my blunt and lit a cig.
All right. And the next one, 11. This one's kind of out of order. But,
I said, are you coming? As in, are you coming to bed?
yeah.
At 11:32:19.
Right, and let's go on to October 4th, which we kind of have a little bit about this already. There's one from October 4th at 10:41,
10:41:37. She said, I'm about to turn on 2:04.
and the next one,
I said at 10:44:24. Thank you for the little bit left. So sweet. No lie.
and what little bit left were you referring to?
Whatever she left me on the dresser.
Drugs.
Yep.
All right, so at least at that point in time, on the night of October 4th, you were at home with the children, under the influence, while she's out getting more drugs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At any point, did you ever tell them this?
Yes.
When?
The interview?
Okay.
The initial interview?
All right. Well, let's go
It was a
ahead.
very long period of time, so I'm pretty sure I told him everything I knew.
All right. That being said,
Or could remember.
you were doing cocaine at least at 11 o'clock at night on October 4th. And drinking.
10:45.
10:45. 10:45.
And I probably did that and then fell asleep,
Because cocaine makes you sleepy.
as we've stated.
Okay. And you were drinking as well.
Probably the last year I had left.
Okay. But when you went to sleep, Quinton was fine, Zane was fine, and Scott was fine, correct?
Yes, sir. At around 10:45, 11 o'clock.
So, do you know what time Leilani got back that night?
Nope.
Okay. Do you remember telling the police that you were awake when she got in?
Probably initially.
Okay. But you changed your story, didn't you?
Possibly. I don't know.
Okay. Well, if
I
I say,
stated based on memory and what I was recalling at the time.
well, if you say A is true and it turns out that B is true, they both can't be true, can they?
Depending.
Well, either you saw her and you were awake, or you were asleep when she got in.
Yeah, very true.
Right. Now, you got up at 3 a.m. to feed Sky, like you always did, you said,
Probably initially, that's probably what I said.
and you told them Quinton was fine, Zane was fine, and Sky was fine, correct?
Initially, I believe so.
Okay. And you also said you, of your own accord, called the babysitter and said the kids were staying home.
I texted her at 5:20 and
Sorry.
said the kids will be with her.
Excuse me, texted and said the kids were going to stay home with Leilani, right?
Yes.
Did you discuss this with Leilani?
She wouldn't wake up. But that was something that I've done in the past, because if she wasn't going to get up and go to work and I was going to go to work, and why am I paying for the babysitter?
So for you, you were a little bit angry she wouldn't wake up and go to work, right?
No, not really. I was just going to get my job done.
Mr. Young, can I have a few?
I may sound irritated at the moment, but no.
Now let's talk about the Azalea Mobile Home Park.
Okay.
Buckhalter Road, you have 3 different trash cans out there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're the one that collects those trash cans and takes them to the Azalea Mobile Home Park to dump. That was your testimony to Mr. Dean?
Yeah, for the most part I was, until
Okay.
Paul got there, and Paul was the one that had the keys to the truck, so Paul liked to take the trash out.
Well, I'm curious, do they have trash collection out there?
We didn't, at that residence, I don't know. That wasn't my house.
Well, it just seems a very odd thing that,
That's what I was told to do.
okay, well, who told you to do that?
I don't remember exactly, but that's just one of the things that happened. I don't understand.
So Paul, either you or Paul were the ones that took the trash off there.
Yes.
Okay.
In the Silverado,
Right.
never in the Dodge Journey.
You're absolutely correct. In the Silverado. But you don't know whether or not there was garbage collection on Buckhalter Road or when they collected garbage?
I don't believe they paid for that service. I think it's something you have to pay for. I'm not 100% sure.
Do you know what the service is offered?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, have you ever seen garbage trucks up and down the road?
It
So
wasn't
it's
my
okay if you
house.
don't. Yeah, it's okay if you don't, but I mean,
No, it wasn't my house.
okay. You didn't pay attention to it, is what you're saying.
No, I just did what I was instructed.
Now, but you did agree to have the hotel room wired for 3 days, correct?
Yeah,
And
and my cell phone.
when did you leave Savannah after this?
I believe it was the day that I signed the paper for my cell phone to be tapped.
You left Savannah that day?
I believe so.
And that's when you moved away from Savannah?
I went and stayed in Atlanta for a weekend, and then I moved back with my parents.
So whatever day is on that particular item, that was the day you left Savannah.
I believe so. If not, it was the next day.
Did you have custody of Sky?
No, I wasn't even, legitimized.
Do you have?
And I was threatened multiple times that my daughter would be taken away from me by Leilani.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Do you have custody of Sky now?
No, I don't.
Who does?
Objection, Your Honor.
What's
What is the
wrong?
relevance?
What's wrong? Call the question I got.
In just a moment, Mr. Dean may have some further questions for you.
Sorry.
I do have some redirect, Your Honor, but I need a break
Okay.
myself, and I suspect I'll be back.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a good time to take a break. Let's take a 15-minute break, ladies and gentlemen. It's 10:02. Let's be back about 10:20. We're in recess.
Jury's exiting.
And Ms. Simon has rejoined her counsel at that table. We're back from break. Is there anything that we need to take up before bringing in the jury? Okay, and Mr. Hilliard, you ready to proceed?
We are, Judge.
Okay, please bring in the jury. Just a moment.
Can I get the witness back on the stand before we bring the jury in?
Yes. Daniel Youngkin. Okay, Mr. Youngkin, please take your seat once again in the witness stand. All right, Mr. Youngkin, you understand that you remain under oath?
Yes, sir.
Let's break out the jurors.
I stepped on the cord.
Ladies and gentlemen, please have a seat. And jurors, were you able to continue to comply with the court's instructions? Yes, ma'am. All right, very well, thank you. Mr. Dean?
Danny, I think you were asked some questions on cross-examination about where you all kept cocaine.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me again where you kept it?
There was a dresser across from the bed that was like 4 feet tall, 5 feet tall.
Was there also a dresser next to the bed?
Yes, sir.
Which one was taller?
The one across from the bed.
And you're saying that's the one that you all kept the cocaine in?
Yes, sir.
Why that dresser and not the other one?
Because it was taller and less. It was. They couldn't reach it. The kids couldn't reach it.
I'd like to show you a picture and ask if you can just explain to us which piece of furniture you're talking about, okay?
Yes, sir.
This is image 44 from State's Exhibit 10. Are we seeing in this picture the piece of furniture that you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Where in this piece of furniture or on this piece of furniture would you guys keep cocaine?
There's a shelf in there that's at the top, near the top, and then on top of it,
And how do you open that piece of furniture?
with that door handle right there. Well, with that knob.
So you have to pull that knob to open it?
Yes, sir. And there's a shelf near that hinge, sort of at the bottom of it.
Like right here,
Like towards the bottom of it, yeah.
towards the bottom of the top hinge?
Yeah, there should be a shelf in there.
Okay. Did you ever see Quinton open that piece of furniture?
No, never.
If he had, was he able to open it to your knowledge?
No, not to my knowledge. I believe it was taller than he could reach.
And had he been able to open the door, would he have been able to reach to the top shelf?
No.
And are you saying that that's specifically why you kept it up there to keep it away from kids?
Yes, sir.
Was Quinton able to get out of his pack and play?
No, sir.
How much were y'all paying for cocaine at this time?
Quite a little bit, actually.
What do you mean by that?
20 to 40 a bag.
And how much is the bag? Like how much are we talking about in the bag?
0.3, 0.5, something like that.
0.3 or 0.5?
Of a gram.
Okay, so less than a gram.
Yes.
And how much money is that, you said?
$40 would get you probably like a 0.5, maybe.
So did you consider cocaine to be expensive?
Yeah.
Were y'all in the habit of just leaving it laying around?
No.
Once you bought cocaine, would you be careful to take care of it and safeguard it?
Yeah. As much as possible.
Now, I want to ask you some questions about Defense Exhibit 1 that was shown to you, but I don't think was introduced into evidence. Is that right, Madam Clerk? Was Defense Exhibit 1 introduced into evidence formally?
Yes,
It was.
that's one. Or
That's
defense
defense
one.
exhibit.
Oh, no, it was not.
I've marked it, the copy that I was given, it states Exhibit 87. Danny, you've identified these as text messages that you sent to the defendant over a period of time.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would introduce this and states 87.
Yes.
No objection. I was going to wait till the detective just cross mark it as defense one if that's okay. It states 87. I'm good with that. Judge.
Okay, that's fine.
May I break time? Now, I've given that copy to the witness, and I'm going to grab a copy on the clerk's table so that I can follow along myself with that. Danny, what's the date and time of the message that you're looking at on the page that I've turned to?
October 1st, 2022, 1:34:29 a.m.
All right. And what did you say in this message?
I said, can't come in and lay down at 2 a.m. Just go out and fuck around and don't tell me or don't ask me or tell me shit.
What did you mean by don't ask me or tell me shit?
Just, I was unaware of her whereabouts or that she left or what she was doing.
What did you mean by fuck around? Just can't come in?
Do whatever she wanted to do.
Did you know what she was doing?
No, I didn't ever ask.
And that was at 1:34 a.m.
Yes, sir.
Can you flip to the page in front of that? What's the time of this message?
Is this the one from her? Is that what you were saying? Or is it, wait, at 1:34 or 12:27?
Let's just go up there. How about that?
Yeah, sorry. This is the one we were at. So, are you talking about this one? Yeah, that one. Okay.
Now, I've flipped forward a couple pages. What is the date and time of this message?
10/1/2022, 1:40:37 a.m.
That's like 5 minutes after the last one that we read.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, go back to it, please. All right. And what did you say here?
Bet it'll be 3 a.m. before I see you and no beer.
Do you remember where, if anywhere, she had told you that she was going at this time?
No.
Did you know what she was doing?
No.
Did you have any suspicion as to what she was doing?
Yeah.
And what was that?
204. For however long she felt like staying there for.
All right. Can you turn to the next page? Yeah, the one in front of it. Okay. And this is what date and time?
10/1/2022 to 19:08 a.m.
All right. So same morning, but like
40 minutes.
40 minutes later, or something like that.
About 40 or 50, yeah.
40 or 50
Well, it's
minutes.
135, so 220, so 25, 20, 45 minutes.
Okay. Was she still gone at the time of this message?
Yes, sir.
And what did you say to her?
But want me to be all over you when you run off at night like this and lie and don't respond?
And you thought she was at 204.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where y'all would get drugs from.
Yes, sir.
I can take that back. How far was let me ask you this. When we say 204 and Arkwright Lane, are we talking about the same place?
Yes, sir.
The drug dealer's residence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long, if all you wanted to do was drive from 535 Buckhalter, or all someone wanted to do, you, the defendant, whoever,
Uh-huh.
if all you wanted to do was drive from 535 Buckhalter to 204, aka Arkwright Lane, and buy drugs and then come home, how long would that take?
A maximum of like 40 minutes.
Okay. Were there times, perhaps including the time period encompassed in these messages that we've just gone through, where the defendant would go to 204 / aka Arkwright Lane for longer than it would take to just buy drugs?
Yes, sir.
And is that kind of what you were complaining about in those messages?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Hilliard asked you about those messages or some messages like them. Were you upset that she wasn't home with the drugs yet? Do you remember him asking you that?
Yes.
And you responded, no, I was just annoyed that she wasn't home yet, that she was still out.
Yes, sir.
Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
One moment, please, Your Honor. All right, I'd like to approach with what I've marked as State's Exhibit 86, Your Honor.
Has 86 been entered has it been admitted into evidence?
No, Your Honor, that has not been offered yet.
All right, thank you.
I've handed the witness what I've marked as State's Exhibit 86. Sir, if you could look through that, take as long as you need, and then let me know when you're ready to talk about that document, okay?
Okay.
Do you recognize that, Danny?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it is?
Text messages between me and Leilani.
And what is the start date of those messages?
10 o'clock, 10:04 p.m. on the 4th of October, 2022.
Okay, what's the end date and time?
11 My last text message was 11:01 p.m. Her last text message was 11:10 p.m. on the 4th of October, 2022.
Fair to say that these are your text messages from that night?
Yes, sir.
Does this fairly inaccurately depict your text message communications that night?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would offer this as states 87.
No objection, Judge.
And may I publish? 86. Pardon.
86.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to start towards the bottom of page 4. And let me ask you this, can you see the screen from where you're at? You turn to the side, can you see it?
Yes, sir.
And can you read off of that screen all right? I don't know if it's one of those screens where if you're at an angle.
No, I can see it.
Okay. So from here on out, can we just work off the screen together, please?
Yeah.
I think that'd be easier.
Absolutely.
This green message here, can you tell us the time of this?
6:20:06 p.m. 10/4/2022.
Okay, so this is the evening of October 4th.
Yes, sir.
But this would be some hours before she left on this 204 trip, correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And the next message here, what does this one say?
I'm gonna run to 204, I guess, at 10:32:20 on the 4th of October, 2022.
Okay. So is it fair to say then that this message right here is basically like your first nighttime text message
Yes, sir.
between you and her? I know it's not your text message.
Yes, sir.
Scrolling down, what time did you respond to that?
10:32:41, so 20 seconds later.
Okay. And what did you say?
Oh, ... okay.
Now-
Space ...
Can I take from those two messages, well, the fact that she texts you, gonna run to 204, I guess. Can I take away from that she was already gone from the house at the time she sent that message to you?
Yeah, it was either that or she was sitting on the front porch.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
And your response, oh, okay. Why did you respond that way?
Because I was already laying down and ready to go to bed for the next morning to go to work at 6.
Were you surprised that she was
Yes.
all of a sudden going to 204 at this time of night?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Considering that we had work and that she had just gotten her tooth pulled earlier that day,
And
I just said, be safe, I guess.
that was how long after, oh, okay.
2 minutes and 8 seconds on the 4th of October, 2022.
Now, what time was the next message? And you can drop the seconds.
The next minute after, and she said, I will be, so she was responding, I'll be safe and I'll be quick, I promise.
And what did you say to that?
I hope so.
And that was like the same minute.
21 seconds left. Yes, yes, sir.
And what did you say next?
3 minutes later, Paul showed up and is going to bed.
And can I presume that the defendant was still gone at this point?
Yes, sir.
What did she say to that?
Wow. Okay.
And then what did you say?
He said something about telling you he was on the way and then you leaving and him getting threatened to get ran over.
Can you just kind of explain to us what, it sounds like that's a reference to some,
Yeah, I think he had like an incident on the road on the way back to the house or something.
and then what's her next message to you?
At 10:41, she said, I'm about to turn onto 204. And I said, okay, at the same minute.
And what's the next message?
She said, no, he said in a little bit.
What is that a reference to?
I believe it's in reference to Paul. I'm honestly not 100% sure.
And then your next message, maybe that'll clarify, I don't know.
That's what I said. Oh yeah, I remember it. Sorry.
Can you first read the message and tell us what this particular part of the exchange means?
That's what I said, you said, he said. But he said something about it was something about no, it was I'm on the way or something.
Was there let me just ask you this, does this exchange refer to some sort of like miscommunication between the defendant and Paul about when exactly Paul was gonna get home?
Yeah, that's what I'm gathering from it. Yes, sir.
And then at 10:44 at the top of page 7 of this document, what did you say?
Thank you for the little bit left. So sweet, no lie.
And what were you referring to here?
She left a little bit of Coke on the top of the dresser for me.
Was it in a bag or not in a bag or what?
I think it was a little line left out.
How much was it?
0.05 gram.
Was it the last, I'm going off of the text of the message here, was it the last of what you had in the house at that point?
Yeah.
Okay, and did you use it?
Yes.
I think, well, let me ask you this. Earlier, I think Mr. Hilliard may have asked you, were you drugging and drinking at that time? And I think you said no. Was that an intentional misrepresentation?
No, it was not.
Do you remember coming up to Savannah maybe a month or so ago and sitting down to talk to me in preparation for this trial?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember our going through all these messages together?
Yeah, I do now.
And do you remember my specifically asking you what that text message meant?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember freely admitting to me at that time?
Yes,
There
I
was
do.
Reference to a little bit of cocaine.
Yes, I do.
What's your next message here?
I just noticed it. Paul asked if soda was free to drink because of kids only on Hawaiian Punch. Sounds like I'm sleepily texting.
Why do you say that?
Because I barely understand what I'm saying.
Now, was this the point in the night where Paul was getting something to eat or drink in the kitchen?
Yes, sir.
And how did she respond to that?
Yeah, just tell him not to be excessive with it.
And what did you say?
Gotcha.
Now, this next message, what time are we at here?
10:45.
And read to us what you say to her.
I love you. Please come back so we can crash together.
Number of R's, let me end it together there.
4.
What are you wanting to do at this point?
Go to sleep.
Do you know where you were in the house when you sent this message?
Laying in the bed.
What if anything was holding you back from going to sleep at this point?
Her being back.
Now, scrolling down to the top of page 8,
6 minutes later.
what did you say to her?
Or not.
Had she responded to your last message about come back so we can crash together?
No.
So you say or not, and what does she say?
I love you.
And what does she say next?
And I'm about to be walking to the car.
And what time was that message sent?
10:51.
And your response?
1 minute later, I said, oh, okay.
And your next message?
I guess I'm gonna eat this food and stay up for a few. So I guess I was sleepy.
Do you know what food you were referring to?
I believe it was the spaghetti.
What were you doing at this point in time?
Laying down in the bed and trying to wait on her.
As far as you were concerned, was the day pretty much over at this point?
Yes, sir.
And what was your next message and when?
10:56. I said, I no want to be tired or you be tired either. They.
And that was how long after the last message where you said, I guess I'm going to try to stay up for a few minutes?
4 minutes.
You're still wanting to go to bed at this point?
Absolutely.
Just wanting her to come home so you can do that.
Yes, sir.
How did she respond to that?
I know, maybe.
And what did you say?
I know you don't feel great. I don't know how you're still up. And I wanted to watch a movie. Sad moment.
And what time did you send that message?
1 minute later, exactly.
How are you feeling at this point?
Sad and tired.
Did she respond to that message?
No.
What's the next message?
4 minutes later, I said, moi.
What does that mean? I don't mean to embarrass you, I just don't know.
A
who
kiss.
knows. All right, it's a text message representation of a kissing noise.
Yeah.
Okay. And when did you send that message?
4 minutes later.
What time of night?
11:01.
All right, 11:01 p.m. on 4.
Yes, sir.
Did she respond to that message immediately?
No, it was 9 minutes later.
And what did she say?
The same thing.
Is that the last text message you sent to anybody that night?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. And at the time that you sent this message at 11:01 and didn't get a response, what were you doing?
I believe I went to sleep.
Okay. So if there has been maybe some lack of clarity at times as to whether you were
Awake or asleep.
or going to sleep when she gets home from 204. Could that be because you're sort of in the process of going to bed at that point?
Yes, sir. Based on my text messages and spelling, I can see that as well. And my lack of remembering correctly.
You mentioned that this was not a one-time thing where she would kind of go out and be gone and you don't know exactly what she's doing.
Yes, sir.
Is this sort of normal type of text messages for you to send to her during that time frame?
Yes, sir.
Does anything in these text messages suggest that anything abnormal had happened in the house at this point?
No.
Now, going back to the morning of October 4th, before these messages, let's go back to the dentist, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Well, actually, let's go to work before the dentist, all right?
Yes, sir.
The two of you, did you drive to work together in the journey?
Yes, sir.
And I think you've talked about how you clocked out early to go to the dentist.
Yeah, to take her.
Did the two of you drive together in the journey to the dentist?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember who was driving?
Me.
And then, while she was at the dentist, you testified that you went to the liquor store.
Yes, sir.
And did you then come back to the dentist?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you went to the liquor store from the dentist, did you walk or did you drive in the journey?
I drove in the journey.
And when you came back to the dentist, did you therefore drive back in the journey?
Yes, sir.
And then I think you said from the dentist's office you guys went to Cheddar's.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I believe it was in the same area.
Did you drive to Cheddar's in the journey?
Yes, sir.
And then you testified that from Cheddar's you went home, right?
From my memory, yeah.
Okay. In any case, there was more driving in the journey that day.
Yes, sir.
And then at some point you're home.
Yes.
Okay. At any point that day driving that car around, did you smell anything in the car?
No.
Smell any old food?
No.
Smell anything that caused you to go look around the car and see what that smell is?
No, sir.
One moment, please. So I'm showing you image 33 of State's Exhibit 10. This has been identified by other witnesses as apparent vomit on Quinton's pillowcase as photographed by the police on October 5th. Have you now gotten a look at that?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember ever seeing that?
No, sir.
If the call to the police was morning of Wednesday, October 5th, right?
Yes, sir.
If that had been there Monday night, an all-day Tuesday, do you think you would have seen it at some point or been aware of it?
Yes, sir.
So do you think we can conclude from that then that it
Judge, the honor calls for speculation. Can't conclude anything. Testify what he saw or heard.
Mr. Dean?
first, may I ask that we not have speaking objections? And second, I will withdraw the question.
Yes.
Do you have any recollection of an incident involving an accidental explosion of a package of rice cereal in the back of the Dodge Journey?
No.
And that was a car you drove pretty much every day?
Yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Cleary?
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Youngkin, it's your testimony that you slept in that room the entire evening of October 4th until the early morning hours of October 5th, correct?
Yes, sir.
The same room that Quinton, Zane, and Sky were in, correct?
It's 2 rooms together, but
Are there any walls that divide it?
No.
It's wide open, correct?
Yes.
You testified that you saw the kids okay, and you told them you saw the kids okay when you left at 5:30 that morning, correct?
I was mistaken.
Well, you're mistaken now, but you weren't then. The first time you spoke was on October 5th, wasn't it, Mr. Youngkin?
Objection, Your Honor.
I was mistaken then.
Mr. Youngkin, just a moment. Your objection?
Two objections. One, asked and answered previously. Two, beyond the scope of recross examination.
I'm going to allow Mr. Hilliard to ask those questions.
I won't, Judge. It's not that big of a deal. Mr. Youngkin, you testified on redirect a minute ago that you were a responsible cocaine addict and you only put the cocaine on top of the trespass.
I didn't say I was responsible.
Okay. Well, you put it in a place that only the kids couldn't get it. Well, let me ask you this. You also testified a few minutes later, didn't you, that you couldn't read your own text messages because you weren't making sense. You were either tired or intoxicated, correct? Yes or no?
I was tired.
Well, that's your explanation, but you're also intoxicated. You admitted to doing cocaine and alcohol that evening, correct?
That's a matter of opinion.
Now, you were asked whether or not you saw this pillow, right? Mr. Dean just asked you about that.
He asked me if I had seen it prior to the 5th. Yes.
Right. Let me ask you this. At any point in time on October 5th, did you ever speak to anyone about an overwhelming smell of vomit emanating from the crib?
No.
Did you smell vomit?
No.
Were you sleeping in that room all night?
Yes.
And you woke up, correct? Got ready for work and left that morning, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever mention that you smelled vomit?
No, I was asleep.
All the questions I got.
All right, Mr. Dean, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Youngkin, you are excused, sir. Is there any reason to retain this witness? Let me ask that. Under subpoena.
May I have 1 moment on that question, Your Honor? No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Youngkin, you're excused, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. Dean, you may call your next witness.
David Mullins.
David Mullins. He's on his way. All right.
Mr. Clerk, raise your right hand, please. The evidence you check with the court and the jury of the charge is issued should be the truth and the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, self.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hi, my name is David Mullen.
Normal spelling of David.
Yep, D-A-V-I-D, last name M-U-L-L-E-N.
And what is your city and state of residence, sir?
Currently Springfield, Georgia.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a warehouse manager.
And where do you work?
Currently work for a company called Eunice.
How long have you been in warehouse or freight operations?
A little over 12 years.
In October of 2022, where were you working and what were you doing?
I was working for a company called Eclipse Advantage. We were a warehouse labor provider.
And where specifically did you work?
In the Port Wentworth location, I was the facility manager for the company.
And what was this location specifically?
Inside of NFI's warehouse. I'm trying to remember the street address.
Does Littlehurst
Yep.
sound right?
101 Littlehurst.
101 Littlehurst in Port Wentworth?
Yep,
And you said this is an NFI warehouse?
correct.
What is NFI?
NFI is a third-party contracted logistics provider. In that particular building, they were contracted by Target to process freight for them, and we were subcontracted by NFI to provide labor.
Okay. So NFI has a contract with Target, it's their building.
Yes.
And then Eclipse, the company that you work for, did what now?
We provided labor, the actual manpower of actually loading the boxes into the trailers for NFI.
What exactly would go on there?
Basically, it was a 24-hour day operation, scheduled for 7 days a week. Shifts were often canceled, however, by NFI due to lack of work. So we would have people that would unload containers, get the freight onto the floor, onto carts. The carts would be pushed over to the outbound side, where my team would take over and load the boxes into the trailers off the carts.
And where do the trailers go from there?
They go to Target's distribution centers.
Okay, so what's happening here is taking stuff out of shipping containers and putting it in trucks to be driven where it needs to
Correct.
go. Okay. In your capacity as what was your position again, you said at that time?
I was the warehouse facility manager.
Okay. And in that capacity, did you meet the defendant, Leilani Simon?
Yes, I did.
And did you meet Daniel Youngkin?
Yes, I did.
And did you meet Paul Simon?
Yes, I did.
How did you meet all these people?
They were all employed by Eclipse, so they all reported up through other people to me.
And what did they do for Eclipse during the time period we're talking about, October 2022?
They were responsible for loading trailers. So when the cart would get pulled over to the door, it was their responsibility to take the boxes off of that cart and stack it as high and tight as possible inside of the trailer.
Is there security at that building, or was there security at that building at the time?
Yes.
That affected employees going in and out
Yes.
to and from work? Can you tell us about that, please?
So there were metal detectors. There was a staff security operation right at the front entrance to the building. So all employees had to go through the metal detectors. For any reason the metal detector went off, security would then warn them. Checking for metal objects, making sure that nothing was being brought into the operation. They were also responsible for keeping an eye on associates leaving to make sure that no product was leaving.
All right, and what did that involve?
Basically a cursory glance 9 times out of 10. If someone was leaving with the bag, they would ask them to open the bag or peek inside the bag.
Okay, so employees even leaving work have to go through security?
Yes.
Okay. How did you keep track there of what hours people were working?
So we used a timekeeping system where every employee had their fingerprint that was biometrically registered. So when they would come in for the day, they would put their finger up against the fingerprint reader. It would record their time in, and the same thing for their time out.
Did you have the ability to, if somebody had left and forgotten to clock out, did you have the ability to manually
Yes.
clock them out? And how would you do that?
That would be off my computer terminal, either myself or the human resources manager, and the supervisors on the floor also had access to that.
Did, at some point during the investigation of this case, did the FBI make contact with you?
Yes, they did.
And was there a Chatham County Police detective there as well?
Yes.
Okay. And what were they asking you for?
They asked me for if I had any time card records of the defendant or Danny Youngkin or Paul Simon.
And were you able to pull responsive documentation?
Yes.
And did you give time cards for the 3 of them
Yes.
to the FBI? Do you see in front of you 3 documents marked as States Exhibits 36, 37, and 38?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what those documents are?
Yep, those are printouts of the time cards.
Are those copies of what you gave to the FBI during the investigation?
Yes, they are.
And did those time cards reflect when you hit export or print and produce them?
Yes, they do. They are timestamped at the top, time and date.
And what was the date that you produced those to the FBI?
That was October 6th.
Okay. Are these timesheets we're looking at, are these maintained in the ordinary course of business at Eclipse?
Yes.
And did they reflect things as they happened at the time that they happened? Like they say somebody clocked in at this time, that's
Yes.
accurate?
Yes.
And they're kept on file?
Yep.
Do you consider them business records of Eclipse Advantage?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would offer these in as 36, 37, and 38.
No objection, Your Honor.
36, 37, and 38 are admitted without.
All right, I would like to, now, let me pull these up, and I just want to ask you a couple questions about them.
Sure.
All right, this is State's Exhibit 36. Whose time card is this?
That is Leilani Simon's.
And can we see here the date and time that you produced this document?
Yep, October 6, 2022 at 3:54 p.m.
Okay, so that date and time reflects when you printed it out or something?
Correct.
If it was produced on Thursday, October 6, 2022, can I take it then that on the last page at the bottom, that is the day represented by this Thursday here?
Yes.
Okay. And that would make this Wednesday above it
Yes.
October 5th?
Yep.
Okay, and then the Tuesday above that, October 4th?
Correct.
Okay. Now, this column over here, what does this reflect?
That was the scheduled time that was input by one of the regional managers.
Okay, so we're talking about the just so the record's clear, I should be a little better about this. We're talking about the second column from the left?
Yes.
Okay. And let me actually back out and just have you talk about these columns generally. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit.
Yep, certainly.
Leftmost column says date,
Yep.
pretty self-explanatory.
Yes.
Next column says schedule, and you just talked about that, right?
Correct.
What does the next column mean?
That is a system notated absence.
And the next column?
That is their pay code. So if an employee who typically would work on first shift works on second shift, you would see a pay code update there.
And the next column?
That is the amount of time.
And then I think the next few columns are the ones that we're most concerned with. That's the in-out transfer, in-out transfer. Can you tell us what those things refer to?
Yep. So that is the actual punches. So for example, looking at what is on the screen, that very first in punch you see where it says 6:09, that was the clocked in time for that particular day.
Okay. And then the next column would be the clock out time or punch
Correct.
out time? Okay. Let's go back down now with that background to Tuesday, October 5th. And again, we're in the defendant's timesheet right now, correct?
Yes.
What does this reflect in terms of what she was scheduled to work that day?
She was scheduled to work from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
And what does it reflect in terms of when she actually clocked in?
She clocked in at 6:08, which then flagged for a supervisor to approve. That was approved. That's what that check mark is. The approval basically just means it was acknowledged that the employee was not on time or did not punch within the 5-minute parameters before or after the scheduled punch.
And then what does the next column over reflect?
That would be the out punch for the day, which was 7:57 in the morning.
So that's pretty early, right?
Yes.
Do you remember why?
She had a toothache. So her and Danny one of the two of them had texted my work phone and said that she had a toothache. It was reported to the supervisor on the floor. The supervisor agreed to let them leave for her to go and get the tooth looked at.
Now, what does her time card reflect in terms of Wednesday, October 5th?
She did not come into work.
What is that? Yeah, I see the word excused there. What does that mean?
That is acknowledging that the employee was not in. We had to either mark it as no call, no show, or excused. No call, no show could lead to termination very quickly. So usually absences were marked as excused.
Now, Daniel Youngkin's timesheet, is it substantially the same setup?
Yes.
All right. And that Tuesday and the third line from the bottom, would that be October 4th?
Yes.
And what does that show in terms of when he was scheduled to work?
He was scheduled to work from 6 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And is that the same shift as the defendant?
Yes.
All right. And what does it show in terms of when he clocked in?
He clocked in at 6:06 in the morning, again, over that 5-minute threshold, so it had to be acknowledged.
And is that about the same time that the defendant clocked in that day?
Yes.
And when does it show in terms of when he clocked out?
He clocked out at 7:56 in the morning.
And is that about the same time that the defendant clocked out that day?
Yes.
Is this early clock out also attributable to the dentist trip?
Yes.
Okay. Now, moving on to Wednesday, October 5th, what does this show in terms of when he was scheduled to work?
He was scheduled to work from 6 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And did he complete that shift?
No, he did not.
When does it show that he clocked in?
He clocked in at 6:11 in the morning.
And then what time was the clock out?
The clock out was at 9:15 in the morning.
What does this little check mark mean up here?
That means that was manually entered because he did not hit the time clock.
Okay, did you do that?
It was either myself or it was Chris, the human resources manager. I believe it was myself though, because I encountered him.
Do you know why he didn't manually clock out when he left that day?
He was in an extreme rush when he was leaving. I actually encountered him as he was leaving the building.
Can you tell us about that encounter?
Sure. As I was walking into the building, security popped their head out the door and said, "Hey, someone just ran out the door." I looked over and saw Danny getting into his car. I walked over to Danny and said, "Why did you run out of the building? You have to let security check you out."
Were you able to observe his demeanor and appearance at this time?
Yes, he appeared frantic. Is probably the best word I can use to describe. He was crying, very upset. You could hear it in his voice. Something was not right.
Did you see tears coming out
Yes,
of
I
his face, out of his eyes, and
Yes.
were they coming down his face as well?
Yes,
Did it appear genuine to you?
very
Actually,
much.
Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Did either Danny or the defendant ever come back to work in Eclipse after
No,
Danny's departure on October 5th?
no.
Did he leave anything at work that day when he ran out and you saw him frantic in the parking lot?
Yes, he did. He had left a jacket with a pack of cigarettes in it down in the dock.
And did you return that to him?
Yes, I did. One of the leads had turned it into the office. We had it in the office for probably a couple of weeks. Danny then reached out, asked via text message if we knew where his jacket was. I got his address in North Carolina and mailed it to him.
About how long was it, as best you remember, between when you saw him run out of the warehouse or saw him in the parking lot after having run past security and having not remembered to clock out, that he asked you for his jacket back?
It had to be at least 2 to 3 weeks.
Did it seem to you that he had forgotten about it?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Withdrawn. Let me ask you about Paul Simon's timesheet, States Exhibit 38, okay?
Yep.
Now, I just want to go to Tuesday, October 4th. First of all, is it the case that he did not work Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, or
Correct.
Thursday, October 6th, 2022?
Correct.
All right, so the last day he worked there, at least at the time that this was produced, would have been Tuesday, October 4th.
Yes.
Now, there is a lot going on here in these columns
Yep.
for Tuesday, October 4th. Can you, first of all, tell us, was he scheduled to work this day?
In the system, no, but he was on the schedule for that.
Okay, and can you tell us what these entries indicate in terms of what happened with his clock ins and clock outs that day?
Yep. So he came in early that day. He came in at 11:58.
Would that be AM?
Correct.
Sorry. Okay, so just before noon.
Correct.
All right, and what's the next thing that happened?
The next thing you see is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That was the end of first shift, so we had to allocate his hours from shift to shift. So in that next column where you see transfer, you see WG1 / unload. WG1 stood for work group 1, so first shift.
And what's the next entry?
That is a clock back in at 2:01. As he never did leave, that's the only way we could update his hours to reflect into that second shift.
And the next entry?
That would be his out punch for lunch break at 5:33.
PM?
Correct.
Okay.
And that next column is allocating from 2:01 to 5:33 into second shift, i.e. WG2.
All right. And then what happened next in terms of his activity there on the on October 4th?
Yep, so then he punched back in at 6:05 p.m. from lunch. And then he punched out for the day at 9:56 p.m.
And was that it for Paul on October 4th?
On that day, yes.
Okay. Is it fair to say then that he clocked in for work around noon, took a half-hour break around 5:30, came back to work, and then left work around 10 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. One moment, please, Your Honor. No further questions.
Just a few. Good morning, Mr. Mullins. My name is Mark Hilliard. How are you, sir?
Good.
So you were the direct supervisor for Paul Simon, Leilani Simon, and Danny Youngkin back in October of 2022, correct?
I was a dotted line supervisor.
Were you the one that they mostly interacted with regards to clocking in, checking out, getting excused, things like that?
Myself or the supervisors.
Well, I guess, let me just jump to this. Did you know Miss Simon back then?
Yes.
Interact with her?
Yes.
Did you know Mr. Paul Simon at that point?
Yes, I did.
By looking at them?
Yep.
Did you know Mr. Danny Youngkin by interacting with them?
Yes.
So if you're passing them on the street, you'd know who they were, correct?
Yes.
I didn't see this on the sheets, but the regular shift was from 6 to 2
Yes.
for Mr. Youngkin and Miss Simon, correct?
Yes.
And the regular shift for Paul Simon, I think, was like 2 to 10.
Yes.
Okay, those are the general shifts they worked. What was your shift usually?
My shift was typically more of a mid shift, so I would get in typically between 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., and I'd work over into that second shift so I could interact with both shifts.
So you could kind of bridge the gap. You would,
Yes.
you know, Leilani and Danny would get there a little bit before you, and they would leave a little bit before you left. And generally speaking, Paul would get there a little bit before you left every day.
Yes.
So and how often would you say you interacted with them?
Typically, at least once every 2 days. Again, my responsibility is more running the business. They would have a lot of interaction with the daily floor leadership.
Okay. And you said if they were more than 5 minutes late, they had to get a supervisor to check their timesheet and to approve it, correct?
Yes.
So it sounds like there was, you know, any time that you were late, and I guess it didn't matter if you were clocking in, going to lunch, or whatever, the supervisor would have to approve that, and that's what those little check marks
Yes.
were. Did y'all have any policy about smoke breaks or anything like that?
No firm policy. If the team was standing around waiting for work, they could go have a cigarette. To do that, they had to leave the floor, go through a security checkpoint, but still stay within the premises of the building.
Okay, so was it like a designated area that they would
Yes.
have to go to? And is that where all the employees and supervisors had to go to smoke?
Yes.
All right. And did you ever see Miss Simon out there smoking?
Yes.
Mr. Simon?
Yes.
Mr. Youngkin?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not prying, I'm an ex-smoker, but did you smoke with him as well?
Yes.
Okay. And how often would you see them out there? I'm not, you know, would you see them once a week, once a day? I mean,
That's usually where I interact with them the most, honestly. So once every 2 days.
so
On
that's,
average.
that's where you see them all is out there smoking, correct? Okay. And you said you returned Mr. Youngkin's jacket to him,
Yes.
and in the jacket was a pack of cigarettes?
Yes.
And what type of cigarettes did Mr. Youngkin smoke?
I don't recall. I want to say, I'm not positive, but I want to say it was like Marlboro menthol or something.
And you smoked with him on more than one occasion in the
Yes.
smoke break, I guess the smoke break area?
Yep.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Mr. Dean?
No, Your Honor.
Any reason to hold this witness under subpoena?
No.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Mullins, you're excused.
Thank you.